Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hold On to It On podcast. I'm your host, Erin, and happy September. If you're listening to this episode the day it comes out, it's September 3rd, and September is Suicide Prevention Month. This month will be formatted similarly to May, which was Mental Health Awareness Month. So I'm going to be posting an episode every Tuesday of the month. I'm really excited for all the episodes that are going to come out. I have an episode with Grace. I have an episode with Andy, who was the graphic designer for the September concert last year. And I'll have a 1-year anniversary episode of the September concert because, crazy enough, this concert was almost a year ago. So that is so hard to believe. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, this is my new podcast setup. I am moved into my new place, no longer living with my ex-fiance, so I'm really excited. September is a whole new month of beginnings for me, so I'm excited for what's to come. So, this episode is specifically going to be talking about Suicide Prevention Month. And I just want to give a little bit of a warning that suicide is going to be mentioned a lot in this episode. And I'll be talking about statistics and facts. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there in case this is something that is triggering for people, just to be aware that that's what this episode is going to be talking about. So the entire month of September is Suicide Prevention Month. September 8th through 14th of this year is Suicide Prevention Week. And September 10th is Suicide Prevention Day. The whole point of Suicide Prevention Month is to raise awareness on a topic that is not talked about every day. It is something that is kind of taboo and something that a lot of people don't like to talk about because of the negative context of it. So this month is to spread awareness and shift perception that this is something that we should be talking about. That is what will help us prevent suicide, is not being afraid to talk about it and discuss it. So I gathered information on this topic. I do know a lot about suicide prevention, but I also wanted to be very specific in the stuff I talked about in this episode. And so I got a lot of information from NAMI, NAMI, on their website. And there's also a couple things I got from the AFSP, and then another website I found that I'm going to talk about later because it is a website and a foundation that I just discovered today, and I'm really excited to share it with my listeners. So right off the bat, I want to talk about the facts of suicide. So more women than men attempt suicide, but men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. 46% of people who die by suicide had a diagnosed mental condition, and research suggests that 90% may have experienced symptoms before they died. 79% of people that die by suicide are male. And I wanted to talk about the warning signs because this is something you can look out for yourself or for a friend or family that you see is struggling. These are the warning signs of suicide. So increased drug and alcohol use, aggressive behavior, withdrawal from friends and family, dramatic mood swings, impulsive or reckless behavior. And while it's important to know these signs and to look out for them, I also know from personal experience that these might not even come up with the person that ends up dying by suicide, because I was only 6 when my dad died, but talking to my mother, he did not have all of these symptoms. For example, the withdrawal from friends and family was not something that happened to him. He actually called one of his friends immediately before he died, like within hours to minutes, depending on what the timeline was. But he had called a friend and made plans to see him. So that's not something that is typical. So sometimes when people die by suicide, they don't always fit this pattern. And it's important not to blame yourself, whether you see these signs beforehand or not. This is not something that you could control. The reason we talk about the warning signs is because we want you to be more aware, and we want to be able to create a world that can recognize these signs, and that is what will help us prevent suicide. If we are talking to people that are showing these warning signs, we may be able to prevent them from trying to complete the task of dying. If you know someone that is struggling, just reach out, offer a listening ear, and let them know that you're there for them, because just that small step of letting your presence be known could have a bigger impact than you realize. So after the warning signs comes suicide behaviors, which are a psychiatric emergency. And if you or a loved one starts to take any of these steps, seek immediate help from a healthcare provider, or you can call or text 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So these suicidal behaviors, which are usually what happens immediately before a suicide: collecting and saving pills or buying a weapon, giving away possessions, tying up loose ends like organizing personal papers or paying off debts, and saying goodbye to friends and family. These are steps that are taken when this person has already decided that they are going to end their life. And if you see any of these signs happening with someone you know, or if you exhibit these behaviors, there is a way that you can approach these warning signs, such as talking open and honestly, removing means such as guns, knives, and pills, calmly ask simple and direct questions. If multiple people are around, have one person speak at a time. Do not argue, threaten, or raise your voice. Don't debate whether suicide is right or wrong. If you are nervous, try not to fidget or pace, and be patient. Another thing you can do is flat out ask someone if they're thinking about suicide. This is not going to trigger someone to put it in their head like, oh yeah, maybe I should die of suicide. This is a question that if they're thinking about it, it's already in their head and you're not enabling it. You are gathering information and you're being straightforward and blunt, and that is what this person needs, because at this point they're so far into the process of thinking about dying that you asking if they're thinking about it is not going to have any negative effect on them. Risk factors for suicide include family history of suicide, substance abuse, intoxication, access to firearms, serious or chronic mental illness, history of trauma or abuse, prolonged stress, and recent tragedy or loss. So all that information I found on NAMI's website, and you can go to their website to learn more about it. The next website I looked at for more information about Suicide Prevention Month was the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And their message for National Suicide Prevention Month is be the one. So hashtag be the number 1 2. And they are encouraging be the one to ask, be the one to be there, be the one to keep them safe, be the one to help them stay connected, and be the one to follow up. The website also has logos and ribbons that you can download, and you can also order 988 awareness materials. And all that information can be found on their website. So, a foundation that I came across when I was researching for this episode is the Jason Foundation, which is a brand new one to me. I had never heard of it before. And it was so interesting to learn about. So they are geared towards youth and young adults specifically. And they have educational and awareness programs that equip young people, educators, youth workers, and parents with the tools and resources to help identify and assist at-risk youth. Clark Flatt started the Jason Foundation when his 16-year-old son died by suicide in 1997. In 2007, the Jason Flatt Act was first passed in Tennessee. It requires all educators in the state to complete 2 hours of youth suicide awareness and prevention training each year in order to be able to be a licensed teacher. So after Tennessee passed the law, the states that followed were Louisiana, California, Mississippi, Illinois, Arkansas, West Virginia, Utah, Alaska, South Carolina, Ohio, North Dakota, Wyoming, Georgia, Texas, Montana, South Dakota, Alabama, Kansas, Idaho, and Rhode Island. So 21 states have passed the Jason Flatt Act, which is amazing. And I was sad to learn that my state is not on the list, but I am hoping that one day it will be, and I'm going to try to find out if there's any way that I can help that get into motion, because that is so cool. And I love that because children and teens are spending a good chunk of their life in school, and their teachers are the ones that see them for most of the day. And so getting teachers educated on the warning signs for suicide and mental illness are so important because they have a huge impact in these children's lives. So if you want to learn more and learn how to get involved, that website is jasonfoundation.com. So lastly, I wanted to talk about the AFSP, which is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is something that I am involved with and I talk about on this podcast. So there are chapters in all 50 states. And they are the largest private funder of suicide research, allowing them to discover better ways to prevent suicide. They deliver suicide prevention programs to schools, communities, and workplaces. Their field advocates pursue policies at federal and state levels to increase funding for suicide prevention, research, mental health services, and mandated teacher training. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death, and the AFSP's goal is to reduce the suicide rate in the U.S. 20% by 2025. And you can join an AFSP walk this fall. They are all over the country. I am doing multiple in September and October. I was signed up for every other weekend in September and October, but I kind of had to switch my schedule around a little bit, but I'm still doing, I believe, 5 walks. Yeah. So I am really excited about that. I'm excited about seeing how each state differs in their programming. And one of my favorite days of the year is the Philadelphia walk, which is the one I do every year. And I'm really excited to be able to do multiple walks this year and feel that joy more than just one day a year, because it is such a feeling of togetherness and hopefulness. And you all, I'm getting emotional. You all are there together for the same cause. You either lost someone by suicide, or you have struggled yourself with mental illness, or you've had an attempt yourself. And it's something that we're all bonded over during this event. And you get to wear a pin that says who you're walking for. You get to wear beads. Each bead color represents a reason why you're walking. I wear gold beads every year because that means I lost a parent. Red beads represent the loss of a partner. I'm not sure what the other colors are, but there is loss of a sibling, loss of a friend, your own personal struggle or attempt, and just supporting the cause in general, I think, are the blue beads. So even just while you're looking around walking, you can see the color beads people are wearing, and you know who they lost or why they're there. And that's kind of special because you get to see it without having to interact with anyone. So just by looking around you, you can understand the loss that someone has had without even talking to them. So that is something special. I'm not sure if other foundations or walks do that, but that is something that the AFSP does, and I love that. So I'm excited about the walks I'm doing in the next couple of weeks. I am going to talk about them at the end of this month, at least the ones that I've started to do. I might do another episode at the end of October talking about all of them, but at the end of September, I'll at least talk about the walks that I had done this month. So use September to your advantage to learn about suicide prevention, mental health, and how you can help others that are struggling, how you can help yourself if you're struggling, and learn about the statistics and how you can make a difference, because we should not be afraid to talk about suicide. It's going to make a difference in the long run to help us prevent it. So thank you so much for listening. Happy September. Happy Suicide Prevention Month. Next week will be my episode with Andy, and I'm really excited for you to hear that. And so I will see you guys next week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Our website is holdontilldawn.com, and our email is holdontilldawn@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at holdontilldawn and on Facebook at Hold On Till Dawn Benefit Concert. See you next time.